Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and the viewer's choice build, the Eduard M4A1 in 1/35th scale, part number 10. So where I left off last time, in using Eduard's recommendations for the color scheme, I did a little bit of checking because I wanted to find out exactly what brown color this was supposed to be. Now, I found out some interesting things, and on a Facebook group called Modeling the Sherman Series or something like that. It's a modeling site on Facebook dedicated to Shermans. A lot of very, very knowledgeable people in there, including Steven Zaloga, who's written quite a few books pertaining to just all kinds of subjects, but a lot of stuff about the Sherman. Now, what he said is he's pretty sure that Eduard got this color scheme from an Osprey book that was done back in the 80s that Steven Zaloga either wrote or was a part of. And in further research, he has determined that this brown color is probably totally incorrect and that it should be a black color, kind of like Second Armored had in Normandy, stuff like that. So, you know, there's different schools of thought, but considering his bona fides, I think I'm going to go with his recommendation and use black for this color. So could be wrong, could be right. Going with, you know, the knowledgeable people, I'm gonna do the black. So anyway, the olive drab has been applied. The parts are still masked off where the white is, not in the back or the front, but I am going to have to mask this fender here and across the bolt strip here for the transmission cover, because none of that gets painted. It's just white down below, green here, and then the brown starts at this demarcation of the bolt strip. So I'm going to do a little bit of taping on here, get it ready, then I can move on to the actual airbrushing. Okay, I got some XF1 flat black mixed up here, 2 parts paint, 1 part thinner, and the reason I did that is I don't want to get any spidering or anything going on. And it looks like I know this is paper towel, not plastic, but looks like it's spraying pretty good. Give me a good good coverage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, follow this pattern as closely as I can. It's not going to be exact, but I'm not really concerned about that because it is freehand camouflage, and you know, it's not always going to be exact. So I'm using my Neo for Iwata TRN1. It's a double action. Pull till it stops and you're just getting air, and then once you start pulling back on the trigger, it's going to increase the flow of paint from just a very little bit to a lot. So the reason I use one of these, I've discovered the regular push button type, I just get these weird jerks going on in my nervous system, and I can really mess something up. So I'm going to get a glove on my left hand and then start painting this up. Okay, so I'm going to follow the pattern on the illustration as closely as possible. Start in the back, move my way across the back deck over to that, and that's the part I'll show you, and then, you know, I'll just continue painting off camera so I don't bore you to death, but hopefully I have an angle you can actually see what I'm doing. What I like to do is when I'm painting stuff, I like to use reference points. So, for instance, right here there's a bulge in the camouflage right ahead of the this return roller here, right about the back edge of the bogey. So I use that to kind of rough it. So I can get as close as I can to the illustration. Okay, and I'm not too worried about getting super solid coverage because, you know, there's going to be weathering on this, and this stuff is not going to be perfect on an armored vehicle. Okay, so, and then on the top, as you can see from the illustration there, it's going to kind of go there and around this ridge here over onto the other side. It's going to go right up by that cap, pillar cap, and then down here. I'm trying to do it in kind of a randomy pattern, so I don't want to get lines and other stuff in it. And it goes in front of this grouser compartment there, and along the back of that engine cover there. Overlaps a little bit on the right over there where I just was. Comes over to this corner. And kind of jogs up a little bit. Back up to that ridge right there. It's looking pretty good. A little bit more on this corner right there. Now my plan is to get all this painted up, and then I'll try and do a little bit of fading on it, maybe using NATO black on the black part and then a lightened olive drab over here. So now, spin it around, we'll do this part here. Go, that looks pretty good. Let me check the other side here and make sure got around the tools good. Okay, so that's pretty reasonable facsimile. So I'm going to continue on painting this stuff and then come back once I get the hole done and see what I've got. Okay, so here's the hole done, and I did the top of the barrel already. Now here's something to take note of. I don't know if you can see on the tip of my needle there is just barely a little bit of fuzziness going on. Now I'm spraying in a very on a very hot, dry day. And I just want to point out that what I've done so far, I've not had to clean the tip. I have not had to, you know, blow junk out of the end, anything like that. It's spraying like a champ. Now, a lot of people can do that with Vallejo and MIG and all that kind of stuff. I can't. That is why I use Tamiya paints. And as I've said before, I think it has to do with the climate. But anyway, just want to give a quick note on that. So now I need to spray up on the turret. So I'm going to do my starting point here, because it's supposed to line up with the turret here on the side. So I'm just going to get a little start point on both sides, and then I'll remove the turret and continue on. Okay, so there, and then the whole side of this turret, or the whole right side of the turret up to the gun shield here, will be painted. So I don't really need to mark that off. On the other side, it starts right about there, and moves on up the blank spot right there, but I just need my starting points, which are going to be here, again right next to the gun shield. Let's see, this needs to go a little bit more over this way, and then up onto the turret. Like that. And then it's going to kind of go low. So I think I can take the turret off and continue painting there. So I'm going to work a little bit more on this and then come back. Alright, so here it is. I think I've got it pretty much done as far as the camouflage. So I'm going to let it set up a little bit, clean my airbrush, then I'll peel the tape off, both underneath and on top, and take a look and see what it looks like. Alright, here it is. Got the barrel peeled. Had a little bit of a problem on the bottom. I shouldn't have started from the end of the barrel. I should have started from back here. Whoops, back here. I started from the end of the barrel, and it peeled off. Being aluminum, the primer and paint peeled off a little bit underneath, but it's on the underneath side, and you can't really tell where it came off. And once I get weathering done on it, it's going to be even better. Now, I got a little bit of the black bled through right there, and yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but it's going to have to do. So hopefully it'll mellow out with a little bit of weathering. What I should have done is I should have used my Tamiya tape instead of the green painter's tape, because that green painter's tape on that sharp of a curve on that barrel, it didn't stick quite as well as it could have if it would have been the Tamiya paint. But you know, hindsight's 20/20. I got the underneath done. There's a little bit of where spray bled through underneath. Again, this is going to be weathered underneath, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. Got the front, the other side, a little more of that, but that's going to be behind the bogey. That'll be somewhat hidden by the bogey, and you know, again, once there's some weathering on there, it'll be okay. And then the back. So all of the primary painting is done. So now what I need to do, what I want to do first, is I want to I'm going to paint the tire portions of the wheels on the bogies here. I'll be using NATO black. I'm not going to do it on camera. I've done it before. real simple. Just use, you know, NATO black and just paint around it. No big deal. No need to take up much time with that. Then once I get those painted, and while those are drying, I will paint. I think I will paint the detail stuff like the tools, the machine gun, and once I get all that, actually, I think what I'm going to do first, this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to spray this with a clear coat, gloss clear coat, spray the whole thing, so I can start doing the weathering. Decals first, then I'll do the weathering underneath here, so I can glue the bogies on. Once I glue the bogies on, then I can continue weathering, do the detail painting, all that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the clear coat first, get that done, let it cure up really well overnight, and then I will move on to the decals, then weathering underneath here. So spray the clear coat on here, and we'll come back and take a look, see what has to happen next. Alright, the clear coat's done. I've got the decals on here, and so I'm going to start underneath doing a filter using brown wash by 502 Abteilung, which is my oil paint of choice. I'm just getting this under here so I can start doing the weathering. So I can get the bogies glued on, sorry. So I'm just doing the sides right now. And I'm using, sometimes I use brown or a mix of black and brown, but since this is kind of this is gonna be a vehicle in a dry, dusty environment, I'm using a brown, straight up brown wash this time. Don't do that very often. I kind of like a lot of really dark dark wash, but this time I'm doing this. So as for the yeah, looks pretty good. I wanted to have kind of a streaky look to it, so this is just the first layer of wash business going on. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this as well. Might as well while I have it mixed up. But now, depending on what it looks like, I might do a darker pin wash around some of the bolts, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. As you can see, I'm doing it in segments. That way, for some crazy reason, I run out and I have to mix up another batch, at least it'll keep it consistent. Okay, I'm digging it outside. So it's dirtying up that that white pretty well. I also painted up some of the details. I still got to do the metal work, but I'm going to save that. I've got to paint the details on the inside of the hatches, but I'm going to wait till one of the last things I do there, because I don't want that to be weathered. So I want it to look a little, you know, since the inside of the vehicle, I want it to look a little fresher. Now, one thing, I do have one complaint about this kit, and that's some of the photo etch is just infuriating. As you can see here, these latch kind of things for the air cleaners, they just horrible. I could not keep those things tacked down to save my life. Bad part is there was no styrene equivalents in the kit, so I was pretty much stuck having to use them. Some photo etch I just really don't think is necessary, and that's one of them. Alright, I'm gonna have to mix me up a little bit more here, so give me a minute. Alright, so here it sits. I got the I finished up the filter underneath, then I put on the decals, which are very nice. Painted some of the detail stuff, mainly the wood parts on the tools. Put the final filter on, and then glued all the bogies on. Then I put these in place, and as you can see, they're kind of wonky looking. It's because of that adjustable idler spindle there. And in testing my Kaizen tracks, I put one of these in place. Testing my Kaizen tracks, the length is just right, and I'll be able to pull up the adjustment and get it nice and taut with this here. So that's pretty much it for this time. Next time I come back, I will have the metal parts of the tools painted, and the machine guns, and the detail on the inside of the hatches, whether it be the headache pads or the periscopes. Then I can start the final weathering. So that's it for now on this video, and thanks for joining me on Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and the Viewer's Choice build, the Eduard M4A1. So as usual, any questions, comments, etc., put them in the comments section down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.